So weird without having a microphone.
I know.
All right, it is 9 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any members of the public here that wish to speak? Seeing none, I will move to approval of the minutes for October 2024. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Did you guys hear Christina? Michael said he'd move. Thank you,
Yes.
Mike.
Yep.
Okay. Second? Are we awake? Second?
Second, I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? We good with the meeting minutes?
Can they hear you though?
Can you
Can
guys,
you hear us?
hey, Jeff, Michael, Troy, can you guys hear us out there? Good.
I can hear.
Yep, I can hear you.
Mr. Walton, a little more activity from you, man. Come on.
I'm getting there.
All right.
All right, moving on. New business, GSA parking lease at Second Street deck, informational piece, City Chance.
Yes, I'll take this. And I hadn't brought this to the group because there's been a lot of back and forth. It actually did go to city council back in September, I believe, to get permission to respond to a federal GSA RFP that was out there. GSA had put a request for proposal out there for a lease, for an office space lease and parking associated with the lease. And they were interested in, and we submitted a proposal for a lease for the entire 5th floor at the old City Harrelson building, which is 115 North 3rd Street, and up to 28 parking spaces associated with this lease at the Second Street parking deck next door. There's been some negotiation between city and GSA. No signed deal, no firm agreement yet, but they have reduced parking next door to 23 spaces. So it looks like it's a positive change, and this one will most likely be moving forward for a contract execution, which would include the total entire top floor of the Harrelson building, and then 23 parking spaces on the rooftop at the Second Street parking deck. This would be reserved, gated, nested, and controlled access for the GSA only. Rate we would be charging is initially $185 per space. I think every 5 years there's a 10% escalation in that cost. And it's a potential for 3 5-year terms totaling 15 years if those 2 extra terms are extended, and to start a potential $51,000 in additional parking revenue. And positive here for us in the city is this is new revenue. A lot of times we get revenue that's shifted around from location to location because, you know, an office tenant has moved from one part of the city to the other, but this would be all brand new parking revenue for us, which would be great. And considering the city relocated its offices, we lost a big chunk of revenue there. This helps us bring that revenue back and also puts it on the rooftop in an area that is hardly utilized and pretty much sitting there wide open right now. I think the only time post-COVID we get to the rooftop in terms of occupancy is during the Azalea Fest, maybe on those Saturdays, and July 4th, and that's it. So this is a good one for us. And to roll back to the gated controlled access paid for by the GSA, they are looking for just kind of nested type access up there because of the type of users they're going to have, and they will be paying for the entirety of these improvements and also paying for any residual damage or repairs to these improvements through the years too. So if a hurricane comes through and it rips their fence off or rips their gated equipment off and causes damage to a piece of the parking deck nearby, then they will be paying for all of those repairs. So it's kind of a win-win for the city here.
GSA, that's the manager of the federal courthouse building.
Yeah, it's Government Services Association or Government Services. It's basically
Agency.
their purchasing and procurement division of the federal government.
How many square feet of office space is that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's the entirety of the fourth floor. I can get that to you.
The only concern I have with the whole top floor of the parking deck is that we usually offer, you all offer, and when WDI talks to new businesses coming into downtown, the rooftop deck is the lowest rate parking that you can get. And for some of these service employees, having that rooftop rate is very beneficial for them. So is there, what are we gonna have then in terms of?
So this is just 23 spaces. We're gonna lose a few spaces in terms of the civil improvements for their gated area. It would be the last 23 spaces on the rooftop. So you would have to wind, you gotta wind all the way up to the last 23 spaces on the rooftop. That would leave approximately 50 to 60 rooftop specific spaces that we could still sell at that reduced rate. If we need to extend that for any reason, we can potentially extend that. But right now, those rooftop parkers, if you've got that rooftop rate and you're actually parking on the rooftop, you're most likely parking on the lower portion of that rooftop, not the end piece of the rooftop. So
Okay, so you said 50 to 60 spaces still available?
Yep.
Okay,
50 to 60 spaces on the rooftop that we could sell. I'm not sure how that equates to what we've already sold, but that easily leaves 50 to 60 that are available for that rooftop rate.
okay.
If I recall, when we implemented the rooftop at Second Street, I think originally we were gonna cap it at 50 at the time because of occupancy alone.
Right.
But yeah, there's plenty of space for that rooftop within reason. I would say if we're only getting to the third floor every day on occupancy and there's 2+ floors empty, then it would behoove us to sell as many of those as we could within reason. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Chance, you said $185 per space, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what is that, 3 times what typical going rate is for monthly parking?
So right now, our reserved rate is about to go up to 140, Troy. So that's a few percentage points above our current market reserve parking rate for those folks that have reserved spaces on level 1. And we built in that initial escalator because it's locked in for the first 5 years. So we thought, hey, if we actually increase that market rate of the reserve a couple of times in that 5-year period, it would be somewhere around the 170 to 180-ish mark.
Yeah.
So we basically built in increases in that first 5-year term based on our 140 rate right now. But comparable to the unreserved, yeah, the unreserved is 70, about to go up to 70, about to go up to 90. Sorry, 75, about to go up to 90 January 1st. So it's a little slightly right around double that amount.
Yeah.
This has been sent out.
Perfect. That sounds like you guys negotiated a good deal on that. And you said there's a what percent increase after 5 years? 10%?
I think we locked in a 10% on our solicitation. Yeah. So it would go up to maybe 205 or something like that in year 6, and then up to 220 or 225, whatever that math is for the last 5 years, if it's renewed.
That sounds like a great addition.
Christina?
Hey, Chance, I do have a question. Can I, or do you want me to go?
Sure, Jeff.
Oh, okay. So throwing my TRC hat on, does the city anticipate losing any parking once the gated control access goes in? You know, because say for instance, Azalea Festival weekend, you put the gates up and some tourist drives up there and they can't turn around. Are you going to be striping spaces for a turnaround
Yeah,
from
we'll get a structural in there, Jeff. And that gated piece will be designed with the appropriate turn radius, back out radius of those last kind of quote unquote public spaces. Yeah, we should be good there. We'll lose a few spaces, but overall the math still works out in the city's advantage there.
So you built in the revenue loss on those potential 1 or 2 spaces?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And have you talked to the fire department about putting in any sort of Knox box or something for that?
We have not, but that's a great point.
It's just something to think about in case there is a car fire or you know, ambulance needs to get up there for something. It's just something to think about. Maybe reach out to fire and just get their opinion of it.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, we can easily add that in. I think there's a couple options there. Fire Knox box is one with a key control type access, and then if I'm not mistaken, a lot of those gates now come with a public safety alarm type feature. So if it hears a siren within X distance or X decibel levels, it'll automatically open that gate.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Great question.
Jeff, last year, if you're concerned about losing parking in the Azalea Festival last year, I don't think we had the north end parking deck available, did we?
We opened it.
Yeah.
We didn't have a huge turnout, but
Okay.
yeah, that's the Skyline deck's essentially 1,000 more public parking spaces that are in our downtown inventory for those big events. Yeah.
I spoke at the meeting for the Azalea Festival and talked to them about keeping this end open a little longer. That's why nobody parks out here. And there's like 5,000 parking spaces on this end of town,
Yeah.
but nobody can use them because they can't access them.
It should be open the whole festival. There should be no reason why they have to.
And I planted that idea for them last year and they're gonna consider it. Now, whether or not it happens, I don't know, but
Yeah.
If you recall, I don't know if you were in that meeting, the city meeting with them, because we had that conversation about just that simple access from the corner of Third. I mean, excluding because you guys are deeper in, you have even more challenges. We had that conversation with them about just that easy, quick access from the corner of Front and Third where MLK meets, just into the Second Street access point of Skyline. And I think that was even closed during the parade piece, which restricts access. And
yeah, this past year it was open like early in the morning, but then
Yeah.
at like 7 a.m. or something like that, it all got shut.
something we'll need to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do the parades and festivals much better. I mean, restricting access, even during the Veterans Day parade.
If we can keep a line of traffic open from the MLK intersection down to Second Street, which would basically give public access to Skyline as well as your student deck on that Saturday. I mean, that's a win-win for everyone. That's getting people off the street, that takes care of that backlog of cars sitting there at that intersection for 3 hours during the parade. Also gets people parked in on foot, walking around. So.
Is this, so going back to the Second Street deck, is this still considered surplus property? Okay, all right. And two, about the rate increases that you mentioned, have the notices been sent out to the folks already? They have, okay.
Yeah, what we normally, that's gonna be a piece of the old business. But normally what we do with the parking fees, the monthly parkers, we'll get a reminder the month before that invoice. I think in this case, we did it, the month before. So they get that notice with their December invoice, which we just sent out. Basically, their December invoice will have a letter noting parking fees will be increasing to X January 1st with their January billing.
Yeah,
So we're essentially giving them a 30+ day notice.
yeah, the large office users are gonna have to adjust their budgets. So
Sure.
that's my concern. Thank you. Any other questions on the new business item? Hearing none, let's move on to old business. Chance.
Sure, not a whole lot of update, but quick update on the residential parking permit petition for 300 South Third Street. Park Wilmington did complete its 7-day occupancy study Monday, November 4th through Sunday, November 10th. Not only did we survey the 9 a.m. to 6:30 requested timeline, we also added the 6:30 to 11 timeline as well, just so we could have a larger picture of what's happening out there. We are currently analyzing the results now. It doesn't look like they're gonna pass that initial 70% occupancy rule, which is required to move to the next steps. I think they're on average falling somewhere around the 50+% during that 7-day period. But we're just dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and making sure data collected is accurate, making sure our math is accurate on those percentages. And our next step there will be to alert the petitioning resident and the neighbors there of where they fell in that occupancy study. And either way, I'll have the results back for DPAC in December or at our next meeting. But as of right now, it doesn't look like as we kind of thought. It looks like they're hovering. They're super light Monday through Thursday, and fairly heavy. Surprisingly, there were some times studied where that block is at 100% occupancy, but it's very specific times. It's Friday night, it's Saturday night, it's Sunday by day, and unfortunately, we don't offer a slim down specific day RPP program. Really, you've got to show that parking challenge and pass that 70% rule during that full 7-day full week period. So I'll report back with final results DPAC at our next meeting. And then Michael, I will include you. I think you're on those initial email chains with the resident down there. So we'll make sure you're included on that official correspondence going out.
I appreciate that, Chance. Yeah, I spoke to one of the individuals that did not sign the petition, and there's just not in favor of it. They don't think it's necessary. So it's basically one individual, I think, kind of driving that request more than anything. Just as background information. But thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And just so the committee's aware, I think we've got quite a few new members here that haven't been through a lot of these. There have been at least a few occasions where the petition comes through, Park Wilmington does their study, and they don't pass the first time. 200 Nunn Street comes to mind. Even 300 South Front Street, as busy as 300 South Front Street is, it didn't pass the initial occupancy study the first round and had to get repetitioned and restudied for it to pass a second time. So just want the community to know we're not on the residents' sides here. We're not shoving this through every time we get a petition. We go through, we take counts, and we do it by the book. If it doesn't meet the criteria, then it doesn't go to the next steps, and it really stops until we get a new survey. Continued with old business. Christina mentioned it earlier. Just a reminder to the committee. Our revised parking fees that were adopted by council go into effect January 1st, 2025, which is the first calendar year. We held off on the July 1st change based on the committee's recommendation to get the calendar year, get through the holiday season, and really make those active January 1st. That is how we used to do things. I think there was the last 2 revisions have commenced on July 1st, but I think all other previous parking fee changes have been or have gone into effect January 1st, start of the calendar year. And that's all sorts of various fee changes, market monthly rate at Second and Market Street jumped from 75 to 90. The reserve rate goes from 125 to 140. I think most of your transient rates at Market and Second bump up $1 per level, except for the first hour. The first hour stays at $1, and then the first 30 minutes still remains free. I think there were a couple changes at River Place on the higher, like the 9-hour and 12-hour. But yeah, those go into effect. January 1st, Park Wilmington sends a reminder notice to all its monthly parkers with its November billing. So our monthly parkers get that written letter notice that the fee changes would be gone into effect with their January billing, which comes out in December. So it's normally a full 30+ days of reminder and just kind of a heads up to our monthly parkers. And then the last piece of old business, I believe, is we are hiring a new parking manager, which is my old position. We've put the solicitation out there. We've had a few interviews so far. We've got a lot of qualified candidates out there that have applied, which is great. We should be interviewing 1 or 2 more individuals and then making a decision from there. I'm hoping that we will have an update on this and who we have offered the position to, hopefully at our next TPAC meeting as well. And then not on the screen, just that I had forgotten to put it on here. Our capital structural projects that have been happening at Convention Center and the Market Street deck. Convention Center is complete. I think we've got our final invoice and walkthrough that already happened. Invoice came through this week. So that phase of repairs is complete. The initial project at Market Street is complete. We actually added a change order at the end to go into both stairwells and the elevator facing walls and remove the old anti-graffiti membrane that's been on those walls for a long time and has gotten very dirty. And for us to be able to repaint those walls, that membrane has to get removed. So the last piece of the Market Street deck is going to be removal of that anti-graffiti in both stairwells, and then a refresh of paint on all of those elevator facing walls, east side and west side. And I think if anyone here has been into the Market Street deck as of recent, those stairwell walls are in pretty rough shape. I'll be honest there. That anti-graffiti has just collected dust and debris through the years. So getting that removed and having a fresh coat of white paint on the stairwells, and then some fresh new vibrant colors on the elevator facing walls, I think we'll have a large impact over there. And Christina, I believe that is it on the city side. Any questions before we go on to Corinne and Pivot?
Okay. So last month we discussed the quarterly update. So I just had a couple slides I put together. I did the citation analysis for October. You can see how many we've written, how many paid, and we always try to stay within a 65% collection ratio, which for October we surpassed a little bit. And then I also include our immobilized vehicles in October, the amount versus the revenue that was collected. This is a Live Nation recap of the whole entire season. I know it's kind of hard to see. This is the whole entire year. And it's separated out by garage. You have the 99 garage on the left, the Wilmington Convention Center. And then on the other side, you have the new lots that were included, which is the Salvation Army lot, and then the South lot, which is right next to the 99 garage. Highlighted was the highest transactions and revenue generated concerts. And it's kind of funny because they kind of switch based on concerts. So it wasn't across the board a giant one concert insignificant. It was different ones that showed a different amount. So for 99, it was Bailey Zimmer that brought in 10K for Wilmington Convention Center. It was the Hosier, which brought in about almost 4, it looks like. And then for Salvation Lot is Bailey Zimmer again. And then for the South Lot was actually Lainey Wilson. And this conducted every single concert from the 2024 season, and it recapped the end of October.
I just presented some of this data to city council recently, and although Corinne's not showing it, we're averaging with the Live Nation employees that were parking at 929, we're averaging right around 300 parkers per concert, which is good. I think initial projections and our goal there is around 500 per event. So we're slowly climbing that ladder. I think our average starting out last year at the end of the calendar year, we were only averaging about 160, 170. So we nearly doubled our occupancy for those concerts on average. And it's great to see at least 2 or 3 of them get into the 400 and 600 Parker numbers at 929. And then with an opening of 929, even though we're parking folks at the convention center during the concerts, there's still room and shared use over there for the on-site convention center events too. So it's been kind of a win-win up here.
Yeah, and they are different rates. The Wilmington Convention Center is $15 for a Live Nation concert compared to the 99 Garage and the lots that we do a $20 flat rate. And comparable, I mean, there's the surface lots across the street from Cape Fear that charge, I've seen $45 a night per customer. So we are significantly lower as well.
What are you guys charging college? 15 or 20?
10.
10?
10 for,
All of our event parking, we base that off the Wilson Center event parking. That's $10, and so we just keep it the same for the other event.
So as a consumer coming down to a concert, you really got 3 options in terms of price point and location. You can get really close at the private lots and decks at 30 to 40. You go a block or 2 away, park with us for 15 or 20. And then you've also got the Wilson Center options there, another block away, depending on where you're coming from, for 10 at their surface lot and the student deck there. So those price conscious attendees that know how to navigate downtown, they've got options, which is great.
A lot of them park further down Front Street,
Yeah.
and then they walk to the concert,
Yeah.
and then when they get out, they stop by the bars on their way out.
Yeah, we have seen, I don't know that we've taken, I think we've recently taken some updated counts on 4th Street, and I believe we grabbed counts on at least 1 or 2 concert nights. But overall, I think we were still seeing the heavy parking on 4th Street during concerts, but I think those numbers have slimmed down and aren't going quite as far south on 4th Street as they were prior to 929 opening up. So I think that's an overall improvement. It's still crowded in those probably 500 block up to the 900 blocks, so those 4 or 5 blocks in the cross streets there. But I think it's slimmed down with more public parking options close by.
yeah, and altogether to wrap up this season, I think we parked somewhere about 7,000 vehicles for these concerts.
Hey, Chance, what's the capacity of the 929 garage?
It's- oh, sorry, those parts to you.
1,022 spaces, Jeff.
Does that include do y'all allow the surface lot to be parked on as well? Does that include that?
1,022 is just the parking deck. And then we've added 2 surface lots nearby this year. The south lot, the bottom right, the south lot, which is directly south, which is the larger lot, has 240 spaces.
Okay.
That we're just parking for concerts only. And I think we're averaging around 50 plus per event. So there's a lot of capacity still there. And then the Salvation Army lot, I think there's 32 striped spaces. And then those large numbers, we have allowed folks to park in the grass there. And I think we can park up to 80 plus, which we've seen that Salvation Army lot at capacity a few times for Lainey Wilson and a few of the country concerts.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
but 1,022 at the deck, there's 22, I think there's 22 handicap spaces, and then contractually allocated, we've got to hold back, I think 20 or 25 for thermo, 7 days a week, 24/7. But that still leaves 900 plus parking spaces. So we're we still have a long way to go to hit that capacity point even for concerts.
Good, thank you.
Where's the parking gonna go with the new hotel between Front and Nut Street?
Your service lot?
I bet that's not gonna happen.
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of capacity at the Skyline parking deck. The challenge we are going to see at the Skyline parking deck, and I'm not gonna jump into the details here, but because of the way we finance the purchase with public bonds, we have to keep a certain percentage open to the public. And the public meaning pretty much anyone that doesn't have a long-term commitment via contract to that facility, or that is not a public entity. So I think long-term commitments, we only have the ability to commit to, I think, 275 spaces long-term. So what that does is just puts limitations on who and how many we can contract with. So I don't know the answer to your question yet, because the city still owns a lot of land and a lot of parcels itself. So we've got to look at a few things. We've got to look at parking for the private piece of those hotels. We've also got to look at parking accommodations for the land and future development of what the city currently owns, so.
Yeah, because I was thinking, once this building gets the capacity, that's gonna be a lot more parking there as well.
Yeah, the numbers we've run some models with a full capacity here, both public and private. There, minus our bond restriction numbers, there is a lot of capacity in terms of the shared use, because even if the building's filled, this building empties out at 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. Most of your hotel numbers go up at 5 o'clock and over the weekend. So there's a lot of capacity to be filled at the 99 deck. It's just a matter of figuring out how that's allocated out in terms of lots of empty parcels up here.
Because then you got the checkout time too, that would overflow into the morning, so.
Right.
Just-
I mean, if we get to a point of that 1,022 space parking deck nearing capacity, that's a good problem to have. So, I think a lot is to be determined. There's a lot of capacity there in terms of just being a public parker, pulling a ticket and paying for it. I guarantee you we could accommodate multiple hotels at a daily transient rate without a long-term commitment. I think those long-term commitments just start to reduce utilization and reserve spaces and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to be determined. It's a good problem to have. And then there's your surface lot right in the middle, right?
Well, that's eventually, I think they'll have to come to. And probably sooner than later, with the way the college is growing, the way the town's growing, you know, how long that takes, I don't know, but then you have the side effect of that, of Riverfest, Azalea Festival, Iron Man, boat show, everything that lot gets used for, because it's a big wide open space at downtown that is probably the only one like it. You know, then what happens to all that stuff if we get to that point?
And I think, just a side note, you know, it doesn't have to be the public entity that provides public parking. And Pier 33, Sawmill, as well as Flats on Front, as well as Metropolitan. Although those aren't hotels, those are privately developed projects that have built their own parking and are also providing public parking, not only to their internal uses, but also outward to the public as well. So it doesn't have to be the public sector that builds all the parking, as well as any one of those hotels could build their own parking. So.
We do have, you weren't there yesterday, but the study did suggest 300 new additional rooms on that south end lot. So that's 300 to 350 on that, and then another 300 here, essentially.
Yeah, there's capacity. And I think the models I usually run with, and then we're seeing at the Embassy Suites, a good rule of thumb from what I've seen here locally is about 60 to, on average, 60 to 68% drive-in ratio to room. So for every 100 rooms, you've got on average 60 to 68 spaces, parking spaces filled to those rooms. So just because you're putting 300 keys in a hotel doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be filling those 300 spaces. And then when you combo that reduced percentage with the shared use of your high numbers are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in the evenings and the weekends, that shared use model becomes very, very handy. So there's flexibility, and there's a lot of, if we do it right, there's a lot of capacity here.
Sit down and at one point I'd like to understand that a little bit more in terms of increasing our capacity here. We're also looking at some more retail going in on this end. We have several commercial spaces that haven't filled yet. And that might drive a little bit more of the parking on the north end too for the concerts, once a lot of those bars and restaurants come online.
I think there might be one more slide.
Yeah, I just did a recap of a river festival for the city garages. We did a $10 flat rate per garage. You can see the transactions and the revenue that it brought in separated out by locations. We did not implement the South lot for a river fest. It was strictly only the Salvation Army lot. Overall total revenue for Riverfest 2024 brought in about 28K. Overall transactions was just under 3K. Last year, this compared to a total of 27K, so we increased a little bit. I think in effect, last year was also the 6th and 7th of October, which was a Friday, Saturday, where this time it was a Saturday, Sunday event. We also had fireworks last year compared to the drone show that was implemented for this year. And I'm open to any questions if there are any. That's all I have to present.
It's great. I love that Riverfest brings in that much revenue. It's great.
Corinne, like Saturday, did we get to capacity at Market and Second?
Market and Second, we did. It was more of controlled, letting cars out and reopening. So we did reach capacity early. It was about noon.
Really?
Yeah,
On both decks?
on both decks.
Right.
We did.
There was a lot of people down there.
It was actually pretty crazy because Convention Center 929 deck, where everything was, we never reached capacity, and we were actually dead at times.
It's an
How did-
advertising thing.
CFCC, how do you guys do on like Azalea Fest parking and Riverfest? Are you guys see big numbers for that, or is it?
I don't keep up with that personally. When we have events like that, like Azalea Festival, we let different student departments do the parking.
Gotcha.
And so they collect for it, and it goes to like scholarships, things like
Ah,
that.
gotcha.
So like Azalea Festival, that one is always handled by the athletics department. And then we have other groups and clubs that do parking for those events, like Riverfest, Iron Man, things like that, that bring people in. So we've got numbers on it, but I don't track it.
Just curious.
So we're gonna be, every year is gonna be releasing a news release on our Holidays on Water campaign. Perhaps it might be prudent of us to include some of the parking amenities that are in the area for those, for the events. We're gonna have 3 drone shows in December.
Link to your parking website.
Yeah, we do the, we do, but people still don't use it as much as I thought that they would. So, we're gonna do a link on the website too, but also list where the main parking options are. Just go ahead and list it, and then put a link to our parking website for like further visualization of where they are. And we'll probably do the same thing on social media, Corinne.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to pair with us to do more of that advertising on the parking side, we'll do that through Bring It Downtown. All right, on to organizational reports. Lieutenant?
Last month, my ABC officers did 10 bar inspections with 5 violations. We had a total of 105 other charges throughout the downtown district, 8 being drug charges, 3 were DWIs. Still seeing large crowds on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday nights, even with the weather. Well, the weather's just now turning chilly. But the fire marshal's office they've been very active and doing not bar inspections, but occupancy rates. They have issued some warnings to multiple establishments down there. We worked with ALE. There were some concerns about one establishment. Really in general, with the whole district down there, we met with them last week. They did not meet the criteria for a nuisance abatement process, but ALE did sit down with the owner and let them know that they are on the map to continue working well with us, which they are. They're doing everything we're asking, and it's helped. So that's not an issue. We are retiring one of our horses December 3rd. We are planning to get a new one probably in the spring. And I think it was mentioned last month that horses are back down here and everybody has noticed them. They're 7 days a week. So other than that, knock on wood, it's been business as usual.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions, Lieutenant? Right, at large members. Anyone wish to speak? No. CFCC.
We are continuing the process of installing our new gates. We slowed that down ourselves by removing the parking booths because they were just an eyesore, and we don't have manned parking. So we ended up taking those out, had to do extra concrete and electrical work and conduit and all. But all of that is done except for the electrical, the equipment's in, so that process should be moving along pretty quickly. I'm looking forward to it. That'll help us a lot, be able to control our capacity, get better revenue. Like right now, when we do events, we have to have people there for the paid. So it'll be automatic and they'll be able to pay as they enter. And then that way, when the event's over, they can just drive out. So it's going to be a big improvement for us. I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, we're just trying to figure out how to manage all our space the best we can. Constantly changing.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Sean. DBA, Sam? She on here?
Yes, I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Updates from DBA. Right now we are pushing the holiday decorating contest. This year it has been rebranded as Battle of the Bulbs. Right now we're encouraging local businesses in the CBD and surrounding districts to decorate by December 6th. And we will also have a interactive map that lists all the participating businesses, and we'll also have the parking decks notated to encourage driving traffic downtown and hopefully boosting some of that revenue over the holiday season. Obviously the efforts Christina's putting forward with the, oh goodness, what is it? Holiday on Water? Is that what we're calling it?
Yes.
Apologies.
Holidays on Water.
Okay, Holidays on Water coincides well with that. So hoping to continue to drive some foot traffic and hopefully get some more people in the deck. The deadline for registration, in case anyone's in touch with some local businesses, is December 6th. So DBA is going to have that posted on our socials, and the map will be forthcoming in the next week or so.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
New Hanover County. Row,
Nothing really on Rose's agenda, just a thank you to the committee and to the city for accommodating the backdoor kitchen tour parking during the in October. It's appreciated. The measure of that is no complaints and no issues, and everybody seems pretty happy. So no noise from the participants is good news. So thanks.
thank you, Michael. And for WDI, we are still well on our way to installing the holiday lighting component in coordination with Wilmington CVB, John and his team. WDI and the city of Wilmington, we have worked out a really great collaborative effort to bolster the holidays this year. This includes several hundreds of thousands of dollars of lights and installation that's happening all along the Wilmington Riverwalk, down Water Street, from Walnut to Ann Street, on North Front Street between Market and Walnut Streets, and that one main section of Market Street between Water and Front. It's looking really good so far. I'd say it's about 60% complete now. We saw the South End Riverwalk tonight. We will be making it down there. The city crews are out repairing the Riverwalk right now to get electrical power to the areas that we need. We'll be wrapping the railings all the way down to Ann Street. This is all, I'm really pushing for the contractor to get the majority of the lighting done around the Market Street area prior to the DBA's holiday Christmas tree lighting, which is kind of the kickoff for downtown. So we're coordinating around that November 29th events in hopes to have everything lit and ready to go for people to enjoy that holiday kickoff event. There's also in collaboration with the Wilmington CVB, those drone shows that are happening for 3 weekends in December. So December 14th, 21st, and 28th, starting at 7 p.m. It will be on the riverfront. The launch area will be from Battleship Park, just like Riverfest, and it will be a nice little treat, holiday themed drone shows. So we're continuing to advertise that, as well as the carriage rides, water tours. I know there's going to be a lot of holiday cruises that will be offered, pairing with the new tradition of the Riverwalk lights. So just overall, a huge effort towards boosting the holidays for downtown this year, and I'm really excited for it. I hope the businesses benefit, I hope parking benefits, I hope the entire community benefits from what we're doing this year, and just making that slow season a little bit better for us all. That's all. Any other further comments to make from committee members? Any other updates that you? No. All right, well, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Michael. Second?
Second.
They said so.
John? Troy, thank you, Troy. All those in favor? Get out of your seat or turn off the screen. Bye, guys.